Welcome to this video in which we will cover the Kofax license server for PowerPDF version 5 Advanced Volume. In particular, we will highlight the new features in the Release 2 version. I am Lee Trevelyan, a consultant sales engineer at Kofax. In this session, we'll cover the following agenda items. We'll look at the flexible license choices we now have for our customers. We'll introduce the Kofax license server, also known as KLS. And we'll look at the flexible usage model for KLS. We'll take a look at some of the advantages of why you would use KLS. And then we'll take a quick look at a demonstration of the KLS components. After that, we'll look at some useful tips, and then highlight the features in the network installation guide referring to the KLS. Finally, we'll review what we have covered during the session. We know there is a trend for customers to move to a subscription or term license model for their software. This allows customers to move their software costs from a capital expenditure model, also referred to as CapEx, to an operational expense model, known as OpEx. This allows for alternate accounting practices within the business. With Kofax PowerPDF, we now allow the flexibility for customers to choose between the traditional perpetual license model or the subscription model. This decision is taken at the time of purchase to best suit their business needs. To enable the subscription model, Kofax has introduced the Kofax License Server, KLS, to manage these subscription licenses. While mandatory for subscription, you can also choose to use KLS for perpetual licenses as well. The KLS is a small footprint server application which manages licenses. It also ring-fences communication within the customer's infrastructure, so no access is required to the internet by the PowerPDF clients for license purposes. It should be noted that the KLS is only for use with the PowerPDF Advanced Volume Edition, sometimes also known as Enterprise. With Kofax License Server, the out-of-the-box configuration issues licenses to those PowerPDF clients on a first-come, first-served basis. This option provides minimal configuration, but may not provide the flexibility for reassigning licenses quickly for starters and leavers within the business. Alternatively, KLS can be configured to use a whitelist of users. That is, the users within the list are the only ones allowed to obtain a license to use PowerPDF. This can be updated when required to reassign licenses as the business needs dictate. There are several advantages to using the Kofax license server, and we'll take a look at a couple of them now. Firstly, customers can switch to a software subscription-based model and treat PowerPDF as an operational expense for accounting purposes. Using the KLS provides the IT administration team with the knowledge that they are compliant with the license agreement, and therefore they do not need any manual allocation or accounting for who is using PowerPDF licenses. As mentioned previously, using a whitelist ensures only the authorized users are granted a license, and licenses can be reassigned quickly. An optional backup Kofax license server can also be provided, which adds resilience to the Kofax license management. Let's swap over to my desktop and take a look at the Kofax license server in more detail. Before looking at the Kofax license server itself, let's have a look at some of the preparation leading up to the use of the Kofax license server. So firstly, there should be an email that's received from our fulfillment team, which contains attached to it a PDF, and if we open this PDF, we can see that the license details are contained within this. If we look closer into this particular PDF, you'll see we have a serial number and a license number / product code area, and these two pieces of information are key to the installation of the license server. So now we have our serial number and our product code, the next step is to actually register these in the Kofax delivery portal so that we can then gain access to download the software. We have created a Kofax PowerPDF Advanced Registration and Installation Guide, which talks you through the process of registering and then downloading your software. This is available from your Kofax account executive. Once you have the software downloaded and expanded, you can then follow the steps that are contained in the network installation guide towards the end of this document. This is a step-by-step process on installing the Kofax license server. Before starting the installation, please ensure the target server meets the minimum specification required and also has the required third-party technologies already installed. These can be found in the Kofax PowerPDF technical specifications for Windows document. So let's look at the license server now. So we've created a shortcut to the Kofax license server client, and we need to activate this. So here's our serial number and product code. So we'll take these from the fulfillment email, into those, and then click on automatic to activate this. If we don't have internet access for this server, we can click on manual. We can paste an activation code here, which is on the fulfillment PDF as well. And that will also activate this server locally. So now we can see the serial number and the server name and the port number that we've configured for the Kofax license server. So now we can go ahead to an install of our PowerPDF client. So let's switch over to a client to install PowerPDF. Here we have the download which has been extracted. So we're going to use the setup file. Just before we do that, if we go to the Tools, Custom Kit and Doc folder, then you'll see the network installation guide. This contains the instructions for installing the Kofax license server. So we'll come back to Setup PowerPDF. We'll double click on the setup.exe, click Install, and then we'll minimize this back window. And then we'll get into the questions for installing PowerPDF. So we click Next, accept the license agreement, put a username and organization in if needed, and here we have the choice of the legacy serial number or the Kofax license server, which we're going to select here. We click Next, and then this is where we input the host name and the port number. We're not using the HTTPS here, so we'll just simply put the host name in, ensure the port number is correct as we saw on the client. We can also input a backup license server as well if required here. We click Next, and then we can skip over to the remainder install. So we're just going to take typical and install PowerPDF here. So if we was using the HTTPS, we would need to distribute the certificate to all the client PCs for that HTTPS to work as well. So we finish the install, click on Finish. Now I'm actually logged in here. We're going to check who we actually are. So we're the administrator here, so I don't want to start the application as administrator, so I'm just going to cancel launching that, so I can come over and log out and then log in as a user. So we're going to restart the PC here. So once restarted, we can check who I'm logged in as now. So I'm logged in as the sales user 1. I can start PowerPDF, and you'll see we start PowerPDF. If I come up to the Help command, click on the About tab, you'll see there's my serial key entered here. So I can now exit out of this knowing that we've successfully installed PowerPDF and obtained a license. So I'm just going to come back to the install folder here, and we're just going to quickly look at the Tools folder, Custom Kit again. And this time, instead of looking at the dock, I'm going to run the Customization Kit exe. So if we're packaging PowerPDF to be deployed, we would come in here, we'd select the package. So we're going to come into our PowerPDF System 64, select the MSI, click Open, and now we can configure the rest of this customization. So I'm just going to click on Licensing here to show you we have the choice of the serial number, so traditional, or we can actually input here the host name of the license server as we just saw on a manual install. So we'd still input here our app server 2 and our port number as we saw previously. And then I can just click on through the rest of this application to select the rest of my customization options and then publish the package. Let's jump back to the license server and open the license server client again. Take a closer look. So you can see here we've got a PowerPDF named user, available 47 licenses out of 50. If we look at the other tab, connected stations, this is at blank and this is used by other Kofax applications, so don't expect to see anything there. So we can actually take a look behind the scenes. If we go to see program data Kofax licensing and open this report regular file, we can see the licenses that have been issued, and we'll see here the username. So CS is the domain, sales user _1, their Windows SID and the workstation that they logged in on. And then finally we'll also see the date that the license was checked out originally from. So along the top is just the menu items of what's contained in this file here. So the other thing we can see here is the named users list. So this is our whitelist that we've implemented. So if I open this, we can see we've got 4 users in here, and these are our 4 sales users and the administrator. If we take a look at a desktop and we look at who's logged in here, this is an HR onboarding user, so they are not in that whitelist, but they do have PowerPDF installed. So if we now double click this, we'll attempt to get a license, but you'll see it says unable to obtain a license because that user is not in the list of allowed users. So if we come back to the license server and now look in another folder, which is program data Kofax KSA lick logs, and look at the latest file here, so this is for June 23, we can actually scroll down to the bottom of this log file and we'll actually see here that this particular user failed to acquire a license. So the CS HR onboarding user was in effect denied a license. So this is a little bit of our logging behind the scenes. If we come up a little bit higher, we'll see, for example, the sales _user 1 was already registered and they're able to get a license allocated to them. So this is some troubleshoot logging to see what's actually being issued behind the scenes. So the named user list, if we've got a few users, that's fine, but if we've got many hundreds of users, I'm now on my Active Directory users and computers, snap in, and I can see in my HR team here I've got a couple of users, but in my sales team we've got the admin, user 1 and user 2 are actually part of the sales team here. So we can actually run a PowerShell script, and this is actually in the network install guide, and this will allow us to export a list of users from our Active Directory. So I'm going to run this script. It asks me to enter the name, so we're going to put in here sales _team because that was the team we want to extract. I run the script, and then on the right hand side you'll see 2 files are created here. First one I'm going to look at is the named user list, and this contains the Windows SID security identifier keys for those 3 users. So I could just use this list, which is the preferred method. However, we also create a second list which I can open, and here you'll see we've got the SID, the username, and then also their email address. So I could also utilize potentially this file, and this type of script is really useful for extracting large numbers of people from your Active Directory who you want to have access to PowerPDF, and then use that as the whitelist. Let's review what we've looked at with a Kofax license server. So firstly, we looked at the C program data Kofax licensing folder, and we saw there was a report regular.csv text file here, and this can show the users that have actually checked a license out. Important to note, this is not a real-time live file. Then we moved on to the named user list, which is an optional whitelist, and again a text file which contains usernames or Windows security identifiers. Another file in program data Kofax KSA lick is the salconfig.xml. The server name and port are useful checkpoints, as well as if HTTPS is true or false here. And this can help resolve issues with the client PCs, and it's worth noting on the client PC there is the same file in the same folder. We also took a quick look at the troubleshooting license requests file, and there's a series of files in here. Each file contains 1 month's worth of communication data, so you can quickly look back in months. And again, we looked at successful and failed license request attempts in this file. Finally, just to recap on the network installation guide, this is the location it can be found once the download zip file is extracted, and it does contain useful information around the license server for installation, upgrading, configuring, activating, and also the enhanced license management. And it does contain the Active Directory sample PowerShell script that we used and looked at in the presentation. Finally, we saw that the Kofax license server can be a central point of license management for PowerPDF users. We saw that the client can show an overview of the licenses available versus the maximum allowed, and report on the active users licensed. We can utilize the whitelist to control those licenses to specific users. KLS is mandatory for term licensing, but again is optional for perpetual licenses. This license server is hosted within the customer's own infrastructure, and we can also utilize a backup server for resilience in larger deployment. Thank you for viewing this video, and please visit kofaxdemocenter.com for more useful videos for PowerPDF and other Kofax products.